Good evening. Welcome to Defacto Review, a weekly in-depth analysis into the news and current affairs here in Mongolia, with our commentator and economist, Gerald Defacto.
Good evening.
And I'm Anand Tumurtal. You can join in the conversation on Twitter with the hashtag Gerald_Defacto. Today on our program, fixing criminal law. Have defendants and their lawyers taken advantage of the statute of limitations? Meat prices reached their peak in May, but Mongolians seem more frustrated this year. A school tuberculosis outbreak has the public worried and demanding answers. On to our first topic. Mongolian legal professionals are saying that the 2017 amendment to the criminal code, specifically paragraph 2 of the article 1.10, has resulted in offenders of multiple corruption cases going unpunished. So, this law is basically talking about the statute of limitations of the criminal law. So what is the statute of limitations?
Well, this understanding came, I understood, from Roman rights.
Yeah.
At that time, before our era, if the law was considering the cases where some crimes had happened, but nobody knew. I mean, they could not find anybody who made a crime. But they may say after 20 years they found. Now they say, you made that crime, and we will now punish you. They say, well, you have not punished me, why you did not find me? So because this kind of relations, the understanding came out, and today many countries have particular provisions in their law, criminal law, where they say that depending on the how heavy was this crime,
How severe or
certain categories, yes. Yeah. Depending on that, this limit, statute of limits, so-called, which means how long this law could be valid. I mean, this criminal case, that case, how long it will be valid. After, say, certain years, they don't consider as a crime or just leave as it is.
Depending on the severity of the crime, right?
Yes, that's the case also of Mongolia. If we had criminal law, we have been changing it also, these terms.
So why are we talking about this? And basically, can you tell us about how did this came in effect in Mongolia, and how did the law change over time? Basically?
Our criminal law was changed in 1986 and also 2002. In both, they says that if it is a light crime, then it will be 6 months, the terms. After 6 months, they don't follow back that law, that crime, heavy crime, that would be 5 years, and very heavy, 15 years, and then the particular heavy, then 25.
Yes.
But I said 2002 last, but 2015, they made amendments in this law. They don't consider, they don't classify laws by this weight of the crimes. Now they use more legal terms, say the crimes, petty crimes, say, which will have penalty of 1 year in prison. And then they will have 1 year that the valid criminal case. Then if the particular crime is supposed to have 1 to 8 years in prison, then they have 5 years, the terms. If more than 15 years punishment in prison, then 12 years, and more than 20, then 20 years. So the issue is now, and it was always, when this term will be ended. And what happened was in 2015, they said that this term will be ended as soon as this person go to prison, or is regarded by court that he's a criminal. Then it is finished. Okay. Otherwise, it was the case in 2015. There were no other cases where they have been misusing this law. But in 2017, The 2015 was made, the amendments made by the Democratic Party, who was ruling the country.
Yes.
But 2017, the current People's Party they removed that provisions. So that is bringing more discussions among the public. What does that mean practically? So say one crime has happened, say, 10 years ago, then the term is to be finished 10 years. Then on the 9th years, they found somebody probably made this crime. Then according to this one, according to the current change, say 9 years he found not yet guilty, but the investigation in the court will take another 2 years. Then they suddenly, because it's passing that 10 year, it will be regarded as not valid crime, or the law doesn't work on this case. And that's what we assume many politicians are doing with the changes now.
So
that's why the court decision is going very slow. The court returns back the documents. They say, "Oh, we need more investigation." In this way, they are,
they're
extending the time by all means. And then, as soon as they pass that period, the time, the end of that validity, then the case is regarded as not criminal. Strange.
So are you saying that basically these officials, maybe high-ranking officials, using this law to extend maybe their cases, and until the statute of limitation runs out, then
that's what I mean. And not only particular cases. For example, the cases where money laundering or money plundering from the development bank, for example, many high-ranking officials are connected, but they will regard it as not light, but the next one, 5 years terms. Then they say they will regard after 5 years it's not criminal.
What kind of benefits does these politicians or high-ranking officials get when the statute of limitations runs out?
Look at the criminal cases, as I said now, development bank cases, and also this SME support fund cases where almost all politicians got money to their own bank, on a company, discounted money from the state, which is supposed to go to the SME, small medium enterprises, and they got themselves. This case can be regarded soon, if it is law applied, then it will be not as a crime. The third one is about the case of Erdinet, 49%, also 51% case, and the case of Zarg murder. All these cases could be just by this law automatically expired, which means they will not anymore go back to these cases. They will leave as it is. And which happens then the many criminals will be regarded non-criminals. But until its court proves that we cannot say anybody criminal, right? But the courts, instead of approving or not approving, we say that this case is closed.
So basically, if they found themselves guilty after the statute of limitations, what kind of benefits do these politicians get, like after the statute of limitations? Can they run for office again, or can
once they are regarded now as not guilty, even not that case, even the case itself is expired, then everybody, you cannot prove that he is guilty or criminal.
Even if they found evidence?
Yes, but then if they found evidence, but the court has not yet made decisions, but the term is finished, then even with the found facts, they're free. So that's many politicians, that's they want to do.
So in your opinion, how can we basically change this law that these kind of crimes don't happen again, basically?
This expiration of the validity of the crime, the statute of limitations. Well, first of all, it shows how weak is the lawmaking system. It's also because we elect people who has barely some good education and who not necessarily knows foreign languages to compare other laws, very few of them. And then either law is made not for long term, meaning that they have made the law for themselves or for the business group that supports them somehow financially. So it could be more lobby laws, for example. And so in any case, Mongolian laws are changed so often. That raises these questions I'm now asking. What happened? Why is that law is only, every newcomer is coming and changing the law? That means our politicians, lawmakers don't think long term. They think just tomorrow, today for their own interests. That's why, first. Secondly, how to stop that is, of course, not only make institutions more stronger, which means at least the people stay there longer. Okay, the politicians, I understand, they change, but the people who is working under, they are professionals, career of the knowledges, experiences, skills of these institutions. They stay longer, and then it will be more better laws, right? So it means our institutions are to be a lot improved. The other thing, in case of Singapore made very smart decisions. It says, this is the law, any law, Singapore law. If this law doesn't work or doesn't solve the issue, then they will apply the law of the United Kingdom, which is fantastic, I find, very clever. Why? United Kingdom is a country where the democracy has hundreds of years democracy, traditions, or the history in America. So I think in the Mongolian case, we can refer to Hong Kong laws or Singapore laws. That will be much better than to expect our, I don't know what school has done, the lawmakers are doing laws without any study. They do it based on their own personal interests, or they do it with very little research.
Okay. So I hope there's a change in that law, and I hope that comes to fruition maybe one day. Moving on to our next topic. Meat prices, rising meat prices are becoming a national issue. People are having a hard time buying meat, and meat distributors are having a hard time selling or exporting or getting meat, and they're blaming exporters, and policymakers seem to have a definitive answer to ease the outrage of the public. So, but in reality, the meat price has always been on the rise in May and June, according to the National Statistics Office. And so basically, we had this issue, we always have this issue in May. And what kind of a picture do we see now that the meat price is rising for an economic standpoint? Maybe?
Every May, it increased about 20 to 30%.
Yes.
Why? Because in spring, we don't kill animals, because it's their time of
raising the animals.
And at this time, they have after hard winter, they are relatively not that much effective to use. One. Secondly, somehow Mongolians, we not used to change of prices.
Yes.
Particularly it increases. Why price increases? Because supply either becoming less or demand is becoming more, right? In this case, more demand. Why? Because we are now exporting meat. And this price of meat cannot be regulated by the government. It's impossible. In general, it's impossible government can regulate the price. Okay, the best case is they can lower for a few days, few months, but for longer run, on the market is the solution. The market is the leader.
But people are angry as they're saying that the government should control meat prices.
Yeah.
But what are the downsides if the government control these prices, basically?
Well, now, you see, we export last year 37,000 tons of raw meat and 3,000 tons of processed meat in cans.
Yes.
Small, but however, it is start of diversification of the economy. And our politicians go to China or to Russia and ask them to buy our meat. And nowadays, as soon as they started to do so, price increases. It's natural, because even with the small price differences of export and our sale, still people feel like this. but it should be down the road much more expensive for export. So it's good for herdsmen.
So there are counterpoints. Yes, exactly. There's a counterpoints of people saying that it's actually good for the economy, and as you said, that it diversifies our economy. And what kind of facts do we have that support these claims that it is actually good for our economy?
Well, let's have small statistics. The government is reserving 4,000 tons, 4,000 tons of meat for reserve.
Yes.
That means they are buying it, or they're giving a private company money to buy the meat when it is cheaper in the fall. Then they keep through the winter. Now they go and sell at the level what they have bought. It's kind of hedging, kind of. But 4,000 ton is what? Mongolians use 1,000 ton meat every day. Okay, because we last year used 370,000 tons of meat, whole country. Okay, so 4,000 is just 4 days consumption. Plus, 85% of meat supply come not through processing plant. The people go, they kill themselves, the animal, prepare meat in the traditional way, which is more expensive because for every meat a certain person is working. When you have the bigger size, the per capita, per animal cost will be less, so price will be not that much high. So the question is, you just now asked, this meat increase is good for the economy. Yes, it's good for herdsmen. We have some 250,000 herdsmen, but it's not only those who are staying with their herds in the remote areas. When their only price commodity they sell is becoming expensive, they're consuming more. Because they are at least one family, around 4 or 5 person. It's about more than 1 million people. Their purchasing capacity is increasing, and plus, if the countryside are earning more money, then not everybody will come Ulaanbaatar city because it's more profitable.
Yes.
So this is just a market mechanism. It should work, and Mongolians use a lot. We last year eat, every person, 123 kilo meat per year, including baby who is not eating or the senior man. It's a lot. Per capita consumption of meat, 123 kilo, we are leading the world. Our south neighbor, Chinese, I have a 2009 statistics, Chinese use 60 kilo per year. Russians, 69 kilo. And Australian, who is the second after us, 111 kilo per capita. So this will give a good chance for people. 300, that means every Mongolian eats 300 grams of meat every day, 1/3 of the kilo. It's a little bit more. It's a lot. So it should go to the normal level of consumption of the worldwide, and price should go up. But then the people ask, then our price, the salary should go out. Yes, as soon as we are competitive, salary will go up. But we are not competitive. What do we sell? Coal, copper, gold,
mining,
that we have not created. We're just digging out and selling. So is there anything that we create which make more value adding, which will make our productivity higher? Then our salary will be increasing. So this is the way about which the government is not talking. And now plus,
they seem to be explaining this in a very bad way, that the public is not accepting, basically, right? Like they don't.
Because they're not used to because the government is protecting all the time, which is leading, by the way, to disappearing of the commodity that they are protecting through price. That's one. Secondly, it was not smart way of the government to take action to send troops to
the general intelligence.
What, they cannot confiscate somebody's private property, But they go there, they register, and they said they are not those companies who has export license. What does export license? I mean, your president goes to China and asks them to buy meat. As soon as they start to buy, now you go and stop it.
Yes.
What does it mean? It means our policy is not long-term, first. Second, why they have not done a study? Why they didn't know that as soon as the price of meat will be more expensive to export, domestic price will be up because they are more interested to go to have export. So who made this study? Have done this official visits without any study? If they have done, why? So these are the questions come.
So hopefully this is actually are you saying that it's a good thing for Mongolians, but people are not understanding it, basically, right?
Yeah, basically, like we have talked in the first case, they do laws without study, research. Our policy comes just based on emotions, and which is very pity because it is not only look us inside bad, but now towards to our neighbors bad. You ask it. I mean, they export, and now you try to stop it. No way. You know, secondly, always expect the price of meat go up and up, because this is the best calorie, best vitamins, everything you can receive. And Mongolians, we use it relatively very cheap.
Okay, moving on to our third topic. Reports of more than 500 students being diagnosed with tuberculosis have been making the rounds on social media and report on major local news outlets. The director of the school said that only 50 students were actually diagnosed with TB. The Ministry of Health then said that 38 students and 1 teacher were officially diagnosed. So tuberculosis, a huge issue that came up, and people have said that tuberculosis is a projection of the society, basically, and that medical professionals have pointed out that it is wrong to condemn one teacher or a doctor for this spread of TB. But do you think that thanks to this school's outbreak, that societal issue, that society is looking into this issue, that our society is not that in a good place at the moment?
Well, let's go beyond the diagnosis.
Yes.
Beyond the TB tuberculosis today. Why is it happening? It is happening because the Mongolian society have a more inequality increase. Some people live world standard, highest of developed country. More and more people live poor, and this is the tuberculosis, a projection of their poor life. That means not only the size of the poverty increasing, but it coming deeper. People are having not enough money to have enough calorie food to have the immune system working. That's why in many developing countries, in particular poor, low-income countries, tuberculosis is coming frequently. That's what's happening. We should see that. Now the question is, why is it happening? Because we don't spend enough money for school, healthcare. Because there are many students in Ulaanbaatar city, in one class, 50 boys and girls, 50.
In one class.
And a teacher, with our school conditions, no air conditioning, even this 15th school in Ulaanbaatar city, the condition is so bad that they have even forbidden the students go there and study, which they do now so far. So what does it mean? We don't invest enough in the schools. We don't invest enough in teachers because they are spending it differently. So government spending priority to be changed. And we need less corruption, which is stopping our progress. And we have more and more corruptions, scandals, laws, and yet the laws are made in such a way as we explained, and those people are staying without any punishment, and the Ulaanbaatar Common, all the properties are sold.
You were talking about there is no ventilation for schools, and there's a lot of students in one class. Does this also has a projection of the time where the politicians sold land to businesses and to private owners.
It is. Until now, Ulaanbaatar city has not clear mapping of public property, common property, private property. Because there are not existing clear map, those who is making decisions are misusing. They are selling under the table our land. Otherwise, how you would explain the many towns, new towns, just on the bank of the river tall? A new one now is coming in more and more. Now, who had sold the land? Who had given the permission? How much did it cost? Why they would not do a bidding for that?
Yeah.
And with that money, we could have a couple schools made, which they don't do, because it is not their interest. Both political parties have silence on that, because both political parties relate people owning all these valleys of Bogdul, our South Mountain, and everything on two sides of the river Tol. And yet, we are talking about the high materia, but now your kids are dying because of tuberculosis, which already eliminated in this country a very long time ago.
No, because the city is so congested, the disease is spreading back up, as you say.
And also, I would like to add here, Mongolia is not enough spending for education and healthcare. We spend 4.2% of our GDP for education, 2.8% for healthcare. But WHO advises that it should be 5% of GDP. Now we need to increase it, this medical care, 2 times more. Another issue, we have now private schools, private hospitals, state schools, hospitals. But every student in even private schools receive money per capita, per student, so-called the current expenses of every student. Why the private schools charging $9,000 to $10,000, $28,000 per year are getting money from the state per student? Yet here we have the students with tuberculosis conditions. And why? Because our politicians own themselves private schools, and they are making themselves rich, because this money, which is we need for these kids of poor families, for those kids who is now in 2B.
So should the Minister of Health and Education resign over this issue, in your point?
But these poverty is created by all politicians in this country. Because they are corrupt, because they are stealing our land, Ulaanbaatar city, and stealing many things, and staying unpunished. Why these 2 guys to be punished now? I mean, even if we change them, so what? What will happen? It will again new political wave, which will confuse everybody, including every student, every teachers, everybody in the ministry. Now one new guy comes, replaces everybody. Again, for what's remaining for 1 year, it will be 2 stupid decisions. But overall, one thing is clear, that our poverty is created by us, and this creation led by the politicians, corrupt politicians. Until we stop that corruption, we cannot move the people from poverty. That's today's agenda. And who is creating jobs? Private sector, not state. When on the name of a state, for example, state-owned enterprises, all of them run with losses.
Yes.
Only last year, this Taiwan Tolgoi made, they sold more coal, and they are behaving like, it's just because the price increased. Nothing have created. So, and this money is being used for luxury things, for their own purposes, this small, medium enterprise money, etc. So, unfair.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we have to end our program there. Well, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next week on MMB World.
Thank you very much.